You are listening to Roots and Rise with Kels and Madi.
Rooted in wisdom, rising together.
I want to know about this body scrub that you got because I believe in a good scrub.
Apparently, you have to scrub a few layers off your skin to truly get clean.
Madeline, what are you doing? She cleanses herself with a bar of soap. She's like a woman from the 1940s.
Yeah.
I've got my ivory bar of soap cleansing myself.
I've always focused so much on my hair that I've never really focused that much on I got really good hair shampoos and stuff.
I love that for you. And you do have incredible hair.
Thank you.
Undoubtedly.
Lots of work.
Yeah.
My hair health. Except for actually...
Andy, you better be listening to this.
Andy's the goat.
You better listen. Come on
She
now.
does.
Let's go.
She does.
Let's go.
But yeah, apparently you're supposed to scrub your body. And I was at Old Navy with the girls getting their spring, summer wardrobes. It was fun. And they had a body scrub at the checkout. And I was like, divine intervention.
You got body scrub at Old Navy?
It smells like summer. And I was like, okay, I don't care how many chemicals are in this. I'm scrubbing off a few layers of skin.
I am here for the body scrub from Old Navy.
I know.
Y'all, let's go ahead and just be everything that Maddie is for the year of 2025. She's scrubbing herself with that Old Navy scrub.
It's tangerine.
I'm so curious and also kind of scared.
Those little types of things make me so happy.
I mean, okay, I love knowing that about you because I really did meditate this past week on like, what are the things that you like? And if I were to shower you with gifts and love, like what would that look like?
Any of the tchotchkes at the checkout line.
The tchotchkes. That's what makes her happy.
It makes me so happy.
I love that. I mean, it's so funny because I think you might be the only best friend of mine that doesn't really like seek out the unbelievably expensive organic vegan, like made in like an island off the coast of Fiji type of body care and skincare.
Yeah.
You and I have very similar.
Old Navy body scrub.
I also have been using ivory soap for like ever, but not the bar because I like a loofah.
I love a good bar of soap. It's easy to travel with. You just throw it away when you're done. Like
I feel that this is like a whole new.
Keep it simple, stupid. The KISS method. Anywho, we're here by the fire with our coffee doing another morning podcast, which I think is good. Like I feel like
it works for me.
We do our best work before dawn.
I mean, here's the thing. I laugh a lot more in the morning. I think in the afternoon I get a little bit more like serious. And then in the evening, don't talk to me because I'm not useful.
I've used up all my happiness.
Yeah,
during the day.
I'm done. So I think the morning I laugh with you so much because we just got done with our workout. We had a really great time with our friends. We're just diving deep into that life conversation, as early as 5 a.m. And I think that today is a good day to discuss a topic that you have done your due diligence on. And I'm going to comment on kind of my, like, as we go, but I think that you really have done the legwork on this topic. So today we are talking about
doubt, doubting God, doubting your faith, all the doubts that come along with Christianity. I think we had some other topics in mind, but I feel like a lot of times what happens is topics are brought to us.
Yeah. And you have to have like sort of a connector. I think something has to click. And there is so much we can talk about when it comes to our own experiences with doubt. But you've also collected stories.
I have talked to so many people. I've talked to agnostic, atheist, people who've gone through things, all on, where do you feel doubt? Where do you feel disconnect? Where do you feel God? And it's been pretty fascinating. I think one of the things that has always struck a chord with me in a negative way is that we're told A good Christian has a strong belief, a strong faith. But I fully believe that you can't connect with something unless you question it and search for the answers. Like, are we really expected to find out Santa Claus is not real, the Easter Bunny's not real, the Tooth Fairy's not real? But then in the same breath, this, Christ who we're taught about as a child and does all these wonderful divine things, but he's real. Don't question that. We did lie to you about all these other things. But this one, no. Don't ask questions. Have strong faith. Have strong belief. If you do have questions, maybe Google them privately. Right? Like, it's like no one raises their hand and go, as an adult, like a kid is like, how do I know God's real? And adults, we don't do that. We do that privately. So we're going to do it publicly.
Yeah, because honestly, I think that the theme of this podcast, if you have been listening up to now, which we have some really wonderful listeners that are like very consistent. If you've been listening up to now, first of all, we thank you. And also, I think you now get the gist that we love the Lord so much. We love Jesus. We love our walk. We love each other. But we don't know a whole lot about a whole lot. We're learning so much each and every day, and we're just bringing you along the journey with us. Mm-hmm. I think I'm reading a book right now called "He Chose the Nails." It sounds really violent, but it's not. By Max Lucado, and this book talks about like why Jesus chose the nails, basically, because he could have not. Like he could have not.
Yeah,
he could have like. If you're especially if you don't necessarily believe in Christianity, Jesus could have done anything he wanted to during that crucifixion to remove himself from that situation. Because if you are God, you can literally snap your fingers and the whole thing's over, you know. But he chose it for us. That's the point of the book, is to kind of walk us through what his mindset was of, his sacrifice was for us and so that we may know God. So I'm reading this book, and I have a lot. The first thought that I had when I was reading it was, this is about to get so, I can't believe I'm about to say this out loud, but I got to, because we got to dive into it.
Got to do it.
I haven't thought this, man, I feel really weird saying this out loud, but I'm going to say it. I had this thought while I was reading it, like, what if he could have, and he didn't, but for 2,000 plus years, have we believed in this because it's what we've chosen to believe in?
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people in the world that don't believe that Jesus was who he says he was. Mm-hmm. And because he didn't snap his fingers and make it all go away, I mean, we have proof of the resurrection. We believe in the resurrection. But without that, it's a man suffering a crucifixion. So then I'm having a hard time even saying it, because like literally, like I'm having a hard time even saying it out loud. I almost don't want to, because there's something like, and maybe there's a reason I can't say it out loud, because I genuinely don't believe this is true. Like, I believe that Jesus is who he says he is, that he died on the cross and rose again for us. But this thought that was like, what if what I believe isn't real? Mm-hmm. And what if he isn't? Oh my God, I can't even.
I don't think there's any shame in that.
But it feels heavy even saying it out loud. It feels shameful saying it. I feel isolated even saying that. Like, I feel gross.
I think that's the point. That's really, I'm so glad you did, because that is the passion behind why I wanted to do this topic.
Yeah.
We should not feel shame or dirty or gross about questioning anything, because how can you grow closer to something if you don't question it? You didn't jump into a marriage without finding out, like, who you were marrying, what their life was like, what the background's like, what kind of husband are you going to be, what kind of father are you going to be. Like, you don't start a new job without exploring, like, what does this company stand for? What will my position be? The faith in which what you believe in is who you are. It is your eternal life. It is the reason for your existence, you've got to question it. You can't just blindly follow. That's actually not having faith.
Yeah.
That's, okay, so you said so, but in the back of my mind, I have all these questions, but I'm not going to ask because that makes me a bad person. I just have to just believe. I can't get with that.
Yeah. I mean, there was a whole season of my life where I was Christian, and then I walked away from the faith because, quite frankly, I was so disenchanted with the church. I was so mad at American Christians for believing that they knew anything about the world when I spent like a month in Bangladesh and I was like, oh my God, like we don't know anything. We don't know anything. Our privilege is unbelievable. Like it's disgusting.
We don't know what we don't know.
We don't know what we don't know. And I came back thinking, okay, like the world is like, now that I know all this information about what's happening in the world, I mean, my faith was questioned in every, I still have moments where I shudder thinking about what I saw during that mission trip, and then coming back to the church and seeing everybody really focused on things that were so the opposite of Jesus's mission. And I couldn't do it. So I walked away for like a long time. Like I just couldn't handle it.
It's where but now you're back
in full force.
And
yeah.
So Kelsey interviewed Jane Giroux, and who was a former Miss America, and she said something so profound about how she's never going to quite get it right. And that's God continuing to pull her in and explore and grow closer. Because if we're not questioning, we're not growing closer.
Yeah.
We're not exploring. We're not learning. We're not connecting.
And so when we're in a position where we're starting, I mean, I need to know for you, in those seasons of doubt, what have you done?
Okay, yeah, let's get right into it. So, I think growing up, I had a feeling, I had a sense of a closeness that I couldn't quite put into words, but I didn't actually have a strong belief. It was more so a strong desire to please and do the right thing. Well, this is what I'm supposed to do. This is the right thing. This is what a good girl does. This is what a good Christian does. This is what I'm going to do. But I didn't grow up in a home that had shame attached to church or beliefs, which I'm very grateful for, actually, because I don't have a hang up with that. But I did just kind of do what I felt was the right thing to do. And it wasn't until I was completely broken in a neuro ICU bed, which if you have ever visited the neuro ICU, it is the saddest place I've ever been. Everyone there has had some type of neurological trauma or disease, and most of them are not with it. And a lot of them are older, and it's very quiet. And I had to walk laps because I'd had a brain hemorrhage, and I would have to see everybody to try to like get all the fluid out of my spine. Anyway, I would see all these people in their rooms, and it was so sad. It was so sad. But in that, I vividly remember in that hospital bed being prayed over, and for the first time ever, feeling God. And it was like incredible. I'd never felt anything like that before. And that was the first time. And I was 28 years old.
Oh my goodness.
That I went, okay, this is undeniable. I'd spent the previous part of my life. And then I was on a mission. I was questioning. I was learning, and I'm still learning. And I find that I have doubts every day.
Yeah.
I have doubt. What if this isn't real? What if this is all, like just the science part of my brain that's like, I need facts. I need to know. And I find that if you don't use it, you lose it. So when I fall far from my beliefs and what I, in my gut, know to be true, it's when I'm not staying close to it. I'm not reading. I'm not connecting. I'm not praying. When I'm talking to God daily, my faith grows. When I'm questioning, when I'm saying, hey, God, I'm struggling with this, like, help me. I'm doubting. I'm always pulled closer. But when I try to just avoid, when I try to just step away a little bit, then my faith diminishes. So it is a daily practice. And it should be. It should be the most important thing. It should be the top of the list. What you believe in, what your existence is, should be something that you're practicing every day. I don't do that. But I know when I am how much more peace and connected that I feel.
Yeah. I mean, I was thinking as you were talking, like, yes, we obviously need to, like, there are steps that we could take when we're in those seasons of doubt. But I think that the biggest thing that we need to know is that this is normal, that this is a very normal process of your faith. And like, I think a lot of times, like, Maddie and I share a similar gifting of we can see people's colors.
It's called synesthesia.
And it's really cool.
It's really cool. So when we meet people or when anyone we know has a color associated with them.
I love that you and I saw Taylor's color and it's the same. Isn't that fun? But I was like, but you taste like a starburst. She was like, taste. I was like,
I've never
it's hard
thought
to explain.
about that, but yes.
She tastes like a pink starburst. But that's why I was like, your color's not baby pink. You just taste like that. I'm like, but I don't know what she tastes like. I didn't let,
it's not
try.
Like that.
No, it's hard to explain. But like people have like energies and sometimes you can just see.
And our other senses kind of pick those up and it's a real thing. You can look it up.
Yeah. It's the thing.
But it's crazy. We both have that. And we found out, I was like, so there's this thing I do where I can see people's colors. She was like, stop.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah, I know. I've never met somebody that can actually see that. I mean, I've never seen that. But it's like one of those things. I've had people be like, how do I get that gift? And I'm like, well, or even I've had people be like, how do I meet Jesus head on like you did? Like I had a very intense encounter with the Lord. Like my very first encounter with him was very aggressive. And it's like, I think if you want that, you simply ask.
And it'll find you.
I asked. I have no problem asking or talking to God like he's right there. But then I think that the thing that I realized about doubt when my very first moment of doubt was the most, I would say the most jarring experience. I have to tell you this story. I don't think I've ever told you this before, but so we were in Bangladesh for like a month and we were on an island. The whole job when we were doing this essentially was to enroll young women into schools so that they wouldn't be married into child marriages. That was like the goal. It was like the mission. And I'm like, 22 doing this.
Wow.
I know. So, and so like we're teaching in the middle of the day and then like we're going and like trying to get these girls to like enroll in school, these villages so that they don't agree to go to be married.
Yeah.
Like that's the goal. And so we were going to this.
How old are these girls?
Some of them are 7.
Oh my gosh.
Some of them are 7, which is so, if we're really going to get into like my doubt.
Yeah.
I get that the world has fallen and I get that it's sinful, but I'm like, so I had this moment, you guys, where we were on an island, and it was basically an island for prostitution, and it was children all the way up to like elderly women. I mean, it's an island. It's just like a pot of land in the middle of the sea, and it's sort of off the coast of India. It's like right in this like sort of area between Bangladesh and India, like it's sort of in the water, and pirate ships go and dock there. Yeah. And so we were there for the day to teach. We were there to teach and to give lessons and read and play with them and stuff. And then we get on the boat to get back, and our boat we were not supposed to have any sort of interaction with the pirates at all.
Yeah.
But a ship of pirates started coming in and docking. And I had this moment where I was like, it was before I married Hunter. It was before I had kids. And I had this moment where I was like, I have to get off this ship, and I want to fight. Like I was like, it was this feeling of like, I need to fight them off. Like I need to protect these girls, and I need to go, and I need to do something. Like I didn't know what to do, and I mean I got angry, and my team was like, calm down. Like I was like, calm down. Like I still can feel it. I can still feel the rage and the just the unbelievable. I couldn't even believe what I was seeing, and I couldn't believe the world that I was living in, and I couldn't believe it was happening. And all the way back, I was sobbing and just thinking like, this is commonplace here. Mm-hmm. This is happening, not just here, everywhere. There's so many places in the world that this is occurring. I live in a bubble. I didn't know any of this. I'm an idiot. Like, I believe Jesus was, like making my life functional because, I was in foster care. I thought that was bad. And then it's like, this is nothing compared to what they're experiencing. And then I get back, and the church has the audacity, respectfully, to like, they're talking about things that I'm just like, how could you
be worrying about
this when there's so much off, and I just couldn't even. Anyway, sometimes you guys have to apologize. I can get really emotional really quickly. So I like, sometimes when I think about a memory, it just takes me right back. I left the church pretty much right after that because I couldn't bear it. I could not bear it to think that. Mm-hmm. And then I really didn't understand what I was even doing, like calling myself a believer when I was like, the world is so broken. Like, what am I even? What's the point? Like, I really went through this whole journey of what is this? Like, what is this? And if we're actually going over to like tell people about Jesus, but they're struggling so much to even make their life, to even get through the day, like, what is this? I still think about, when I think about that, it's so heavy. And
I mean, that is extremely heavy.
It's heavy. And then I have these moments where I'm like sitting in my beautiful house with my beautiful husband, and my kids are safely tucked away in another bedroom. And then I'm sitting there doubting God when I have every ounce of proof that he's real in my life. I don't know.
I think you're hitting such a nail on the head, is that it's easy to believe in a good, righteous God when you have a great life. Yeah. When you have privilege, when you have first world struggles, right? And it reminds me of what I was telling you about. I was at actually an AA meeting for someone close to me, and they were telling a story about how they have felt God more in a room of broken, drunk addicts than they ever have at church. And God is present where there is struggle.
Yeah, he is close
God
to the
isn't
broken.
the cause of the struggle. God isn't, premeditating all this hurt and this chaos and this just despair. God is there despite it. God is there with the brokenhearted. And you can feel it when you're there. You can feel his love coming through you. Maybe you're the vessel in that moment. Maybe, maybe we've got it so wrong in thinking like, well, there's, God's making this happen for a reason. No, God's there despite this happening. God is the nurse coming in and holding you when her shift is already over after you've miscarried.
Yep.
God is you people arriving to an island of broken girls who, even if just one of them realized there's something more out there, that's God.
Yeah.
God is I talked to a dear friend who, about her beliefs and her doubts, and she was raised very strong in the faith, and then had a very traumatic ordeal with her daughter, who was born early and now has special needs. And it's absolutely understandable for her to go, why would God let this happen? Why me? And I mean, of course she feels like that. Of course she doubts. Like, I don't feel that a good, loving God would have let this happen. But maybe those moments of love in between are where God is.
1,000%.
Those tiny wins. Maybe this happened, and it happened, and it's a bummer, and it's unfortunate, and it's hard. But He's with us in the struggle. We find ourselves, even if we don't believe, praying when we need Him the most, because He's there in the struggle. He's in the darkness.
That is what we always come back to when it comes to, it's extremely human to ask the question, why? Like, why is this happening? Why would, why me? That's very human to ask those questions, but it is a guarantee that this life is going to be difficult. It's a guarantee.
Yes.
It's a guarantee. That's a promise. But I think that the beautiful thing is that we have God with us every single step of the way. Did I explain it to you like this? No, I think I was talking to Hunter maybe about it, but it was that it's really beautiful when you're going through something really challenging to think of it like the hardest thing you've ever gone through, and then think of your best friend there with you by your side, holding your hand, crying with you, laughing with you, just doing it with you.
And what happens when your friendship goes through something like that?
Strengthens it every time.
So if that also happens with your relationship with God, it strengthens your faith every time you struggle.
Bringing Him along for the journey is He's with you. You don't have to bring Him along. He's right there.
Yeah.
But really inviting Him in and having just that openness to allowing Him to be there. And I think that the thing with your friend, the thing with both of those people in your life that are experiencing, like, they've never to know God so intimately in moments of struggle. I think that's to know the heart of God.
Yes.
Is to have Him with you in those moments of struggle, because that's where He can really showcase His love.
And it helps us to understand His heartache.
Oh, yeah.
Right? The heartache we have over the things that happen that are hard. I think that God experiences that too. But it doesn't make Him love us less. It's just like with your own children. When they hurt, you hurt. When they do something less than ideal, you hurt.
Yeah.
But you love them so much.
Yeah.
I think it's the same. And I want you to hit on Mother Teresa.
Okay.
Teresa.
I will say this because I think that she is, like, her story is really, everybody's heard about Mother Teresa. I would really encourage you to read more about her, because she is just a really fascinating person. And I didn't know this growing up or hearing her name, but turns out she went 50 years of her ministry not ever hearing God's voice, not ever feeling a connection to God, doubting God's very presence. And she carried on anyway. She carried on with her ministry and her mission anyway. And to me, it's like, that's actually who inspired me to get back on the horse, essentially. I thought about it coming back from just a season of being in LA, and I made my life a lot about me for a while.
Yeah.
Like, I made it about me. And I just was not fulfilled. There was something empty about that. And I couldn't really hear God. And I was just feeling there was an isolated feeling. And it really came back to chase after His heart. And inevitably you'll see it. You'll find it. You'll discover it. You may not hear His voice the way that you have it, like you hear an audible friend speaking to you, but you have the Bible. You may not see His physical form take shape in the middle of the sky, but you'll see it in the birth of a baby. You'll see it in the smile of somebody who hasn't smiled in a long time.
Yeah.
You see it in the sunsets and in the sunrises. You see God in those moments.
Yeah.
You have plenty. If you look for God, you'll find him. Mm-hmm. If you look for God, you'll find him.
So true.
You know, and I think that Mother Teresa has she proves that the work is there to be done. Mm-hmm. But just to the people, I think, are the gift. And sometimes I can get
People are the gift.
People are the gift. And I think that sometimes I can get really bogged down with thinking like, right now I'm really like obsessed. I'm so obsessed with Rachel Zegler for some reason. I'm really obsessed with her because the world has decided that this girl deserves to be pummeled on social media. It's ridiculous. It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life because she's a child. She's young, and she may have said things that you didn't like, but for that to be an excuse for you to behave like a monster is unbelievable to me. It's just unacceptable. And it's interesting because I watch, you know, I've sort of like kind of I've very strangely had this need to like pray for her.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know her. She's a famous person.
It's
so
okay.
like, but I have this need to like pray for her spirit, and pray for her peace. Because I'm like, to be attacked like that, I think about my own children. And I'm like, how could you ever? Like, that's just so unacceptable. And so I've been praying for her and for her peace. And it's so interesting. I just like, I think she's carrying on with joy anyway, in spite of the fact that the world is not perfect and it's been unkind to her. Mm-hmm. She's carrying on anyway.
Yeah.
And I'm really inspired by people that do that. Like, you may not agree with them, you may not see eye to eye with them, but I really have a lot of respect for people that will pick up, essentially pick up their cross daily and just keep on going.
Thank you. I have that. Okay. So interesting. Kelsey and I are very aligned. And she just sent me that Mother Teresa thing. And sorry, I'm looking up the poem. I had just sent a poem by Mother Teresa to someone the day before. So that reminded me. Let me find it real quick. It's Let Them Anyway. And it goes.
It's very Mel Robbins of you.
I know. People are often unreasonable, illogical, and self-centered. Forgive them anyway. If you're kind, people may accuse you of selfish, ulterior motives. Be kind anyway. If you're successful, you will win some false friends and some true enemies. Succeed anyway. If you're honest and frank, people may cheat you. Be honest and frank anyway. It goes on. And at the end, you see in the final analysis, it is between you and your God. It was never between you and them anyway.
Yeah.
She's so wise.
And really, it comes back to like, you know, like we said, like, people are the gift. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean they'll treat you like a gift.
No.
But if you continue to treat people like gifts, if you continue to treat people the way that the Lord wants us to treat them, eventually, I think that's really where God is going to use us the best. You know, like where He's going to use us in such a visceral way when we decide we're going to love and forgive and be good anyway.
Be good, do good. It's not an eye for an eye.
Not for it, no.
So I think of things very artistically, and I think that this might resonate with some of you. Some of you will be like, absolutely not. I disagree with this. This isn't aligned with my faith. This is something that's really helped me with my faith, especially if you are someone who has had doubts and needs to kind of view things in a different light. To me, God is love. Okay? So it's said many times in the Bible, God is love. Anytime you feel the presence of love, that is God. That's what I teach my children. How do I feel God? I'm like, you know, when you give me a big hug and you feel real safe and there's love there, that's God. That's the tangible feeling of God. God is love.
Yeah.
So the feeling of love and safety and goodness, that's God.
Yeah.
And when you start operating that way, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. And you can be a vessel of God's love. If you don't have love in your life, start creating it and it'll start coming back to you. You'll start attracting more of God's love by being God's love. Like God is in us. God is within us because there's love in us.
Yeah.
There's love everywhere. And I remember hearing actually a speaker at our church talk about the story in the Bible of the fishes and the loaves where Jesus multiplied the fish and the loaves for all the people who had traveled to, I think, hear him speak. You know the story I'm talking about?
Yes. Yeah.
And the pastor was telling this story and saying, we take this very literally, that he just magically multiplied all this stuff. And that's always been very hard for me to be like, what do you mean? Like, how come back then he was doing all this magic stuff, but like no one's doing that now? Like no one's just like waving their finger and being like, now we have 5,000 loaves of bread. Like, and he was like, the truth of it is back then people would have had to travel. And they would have packed food for themselves, right? And so then when they sat down and it was time to eat, instead of Jesus going, well, I packed my food and I'm going to sit here and eat it, he set down his food and said, I'll share. And so then everyone else said, okay, I'm going to sit down my food and share. And then all of a sudden, the people that didn't have food did have food because everyone was sharing what they had and there was more than enough. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't that he magically multiplied the food. It was that he showed love and it caught on like wildfire. And God's love magically made it to where everyone had more than enough to eat because he worked through people. Mm-hmm. And to me, that really hit. And I thought, I can do that.
That is literally the thought that I had while reading this book. Mm-hmm. And like quite literally, we are very aligned. It's kind of creepy, but like that feeling of even if, okay, so even if Jesus isn't this magical sorcerer, like, no, not that he was a sorcerer, but like, you know what I'm saying?
But that's like where our brain goes.
Yes, like even if he wasn't this magical, like waving a wand and can make it all happen. Don't you think that if you look at the history of the situation, at the time, people could not access God unless you followed every single rule perfectly. Yeah. That you could not access God unless you were the perfect rule follower. And you also had these people making up rules as they went.
Yeah, to suit themselves.
The Pharisees. Mm-hmm. And like were making up stuff to ensure that basically they stayed on top. And that's a power move. Like you shouldn't have done it. And like that's wrong. Mm-hmm. But to me, I look back and I'm like, the magical thing that happened was that Jesus came in a time when he was doing the exact, I don't even want to say opposite. He was just doing something so radical to the time. And I think that is really what we're looking at right now in this time frame. You have people who are just so angry. They're so mad and they're so just, there is just something about the time frame that we're living in right now where to love somebody regardless of your own feelings is so radical. That is a radical
It's called radical love.
Yeah.
To love someone without the, I love you despite. It's just, no, I just love you. I don't really care. It's not my problem. It's not my business. It's not my job to fix you, to change you, to show you who you're supposed to be. It's just my job to love you. That's where God's going to show up. And that's why a lot of times you're going to see more love in the broken, drunk addicts because they're not there to judge you. They're there to accept your love.
And they're there to walk with you.
With you, next to you, not above you, not to say, well, you can't come here. You're not a good Christian because.
I just think that people have to recognize that, like, if you're in a space where, and I'm there, y'all, I've been there, and I'm checking myself at the door. That, especially when I became a mom, everything became very much like I became very judgmental, very judgmental. I was like, don't come near me because you don't seem trustworthy. Right. You don't seem, there's something about that to some degree, if you're a new mom, you know, there's some time frame to be
you're
a little
allowed
bit.
To do that
you're allowed to do that for a minute.
Mama bear.
But I think that I've been praying for a softening of my heart because of that very reason.
Yeah.
That like we need to get back to a place where there's, we still need to discern an unsafe situation versus a safe one, of course. But there's too many people in the world that are just need to be loved.
They just need to be loved.
That's it.
It's so I spoke to an agnostic friend with an atheist husband, and I took notes.
Okay.
And here's what I bullet pointed. This is the agnostic friend. She's never had a strong belief. She knows there's something. She doesn't know what it is, but she's okay with not knowing. And she feels that there's an invisible string that really just connects all the religions, that everyone's searching for something more and fighting over who's right, but really it's all just the same thing. I was like, I can totally connect with what you're saying.
Yeah.
The atheist can't get on board with Christianity because they used to be, but they were riddled with so much shame and guilt that they couldn't go through life constantly feeling like being who they were was wrong. I get that.
I get that so hard.
But the agnostic friend said that they do believe in being rooted in something with a deeper meaning, that there has to be something bigger than themselves. And I agree with that.
It is, I will say that atheism is a pretty hard stance to take when you're like, this is all there. I mean, to me, I'm like, when you're talking about multiple universes, I'm like, I don't know, man. That's a tough one for me, because I'm like, how do you even explain that? Like, that's crazy. Mm-hmm. But if you look at, like, I have a million friends that are agnostic, and talking to them is fascinating, because they're, one of my besties has been agnostic for a long time, and she's like, it's a quite honest thing to be able to say, I don't know what I believe. Know. And sometimes it's like, Christians should probably take a minute to be like, I don't know.
I do not know. We're so scared of not having the answers that sometimes we make them up.
Let's talk about how we first started this episode, where I was like, I can't even say it, because it's like, this is quite literally the plight of Christians. Is, I think that we just, the fear of judgment was ingrained because we're so like fire and brimstone for forever. And I'll be bold enough to say, I don't believe in that at all. I literally don't. Like, I'm like, if you want to know fire and brimstone, go to Skid Row in Los Angeles, and then you can come back to me and let me know. Mm-hmm. Like, you can go, if you go to Skid Row and you go check those streets, and you're telling me there's something worse than that, nah, I don't know. Mm-hmm. I don't think so. I think hell exists here on earth. I think you can find it around the street, like just around the corner. And I think if we're going to be talking about hell and how people will find themselves there,
I think hell is just the absence of love.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, and it's the absence of God.
Which is love.
And it's like, yes, correct. And it's like, to me, we have plenty of examples to see what that's like. Mm-hmm. And I don't need you to be working with fear as a way to encourage others towards the faith, when there are people living that right now. Let's instead infuse what is true, which is God is love, love is God. They're synonymous, and all you need to know is that you're seen.
Your job is just to love them anyway.
Love them anyway.
Our job as Christians is to love them anyway. Mm-hmm. It is to draw people closer to God, which is love. You do not draw people close by shaming them. That pushes people away. Shame causes solitude. Mm-hmm. Community causes love. So this friend also said something very, very good. And she said, I have a hard time just sitting and listening. That's not how I connect. I need to do and be and interact. I don't just want to sit and listen. And I thought, That is true. I do think there's a time and a place where you do need to sit and listen, and that's a skill you have to hone in on. But I think that this is gonna be a little controversial. My husband and I were talking. We talk a lot about politics, but not in the way of like, we believe this and we're this political. We talk a lot about how people are so fanatical about politics and belonging to a group of something, and how politics have taken the place of third spaces and communities. People need a reason to connect with something, to have something in common, to have rallies, to connect over something in common where they can feel like they're a part of something. They're in a community. Churches, not even just churches, people should be finding different causes aside from politics to be creating third spaces where we're going out and doing and being the hands and feet of God. Even if you're not a Christian, you can be going out and being the hands and feet of love, of serving your community, of connecting, of creating these, hey, let's go pick up trash. Let's all get together and go pick up trash on the side of the road and save some ducks. You know,
save some of those ducks.
There's just so much good we could be connecting over instead of finding ways to be divisive. We're never all going to be the same. We're never all going to have the same life. We're never all going to love the same type of people. We're never all going to have the same colored skin. We're never all going to have the same view on politics. We're all going to be different, but we all have God's love in us. So why aren't we tapping into that?
It's the age-old question.
Because we're too concerned with convincing instead of accepting. And that draws a lot of people away.
Yeah, it does.
It does. Like, let me be. Let me figure things out on my term. Just love me.
Yeah. But, I mean, really, it's the years that we are in right now, I think the past, like, decade, this is, like, what the history books will be trying to write. I mean, we are literally living in history right now.
Yeah.
It's a weird time to be alive, and it's a weird time to be like, isn't love an obvious choice? The truth is that love has not ever been the obvious choice. And we're just, actually, I'm more grateful to be alive now than I think in any other time in history, because right now it's an awakening and it's a reckoning of people recognizing that we've actually been hiding a lot of hatred for a long, long time.
Yeah.
Like, we've been like keeping it under wraps for a minute because it just wasn't publicly, like, we weren't allowed to acknowledge any of that. And now that it's become more and more commonplace to, like, we can just voice our opinions whenever we want. And I'm just like,
yeah, go to an online chat room. There is so much hate.
It's crazy, man.
Even just like talking about the celebrity, like, people have so much hate in them that once you get something in front of them where they don't have to.
She's like a 23-year-old girl. What are you talking? I'm sorry. This stuff really gets my goat. And I know we probably need to wrap up soon. But I'm like, but it, to me, I because I was really curious, I looked online to see who these commenters were. I want you to guess. Like,
men.
Well, for sure. Not very rarely were they women. But it was men. And it was like, I'm like, dude, your, like, Instagram handle has a Bible verse in it. I'm like, what are you doing?
You are not spreading hate in the name of Jesus.
What is going on here? Jeremiah, what are you saying?
Right.
Come on, Steve.
It's just
get it together.
Like, you don't have to yell so loud. Go be.
Baby, I think you just need a hug. And that's okay, because I need one too. I get mad too. Listen to the Feminine Rage episode. We're all mad. It's okay.
We're all mad here.
But, like, you know what? That's why we have each other.
And
so listen.
I'm like, I'm so far from perfect and healthy that, like, how could I ever look at someone and be like, I'm unhealthy, but I'm not that kind of unhealthy.
So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to say, hey, Jeremiah and Steve, who's commenting on Instagram, come over here. And let me give you a big old hug, and let me talk to you about some stuff. Like, let's just have a chat. I'll make you some coffee. We'll sit down. My husband will be there because I don't sit alone with men. But like,
we'll have the pepper spray ready.
I'm kidding. I think like that. I'm like, instead of me, pooping on Jeremiah and Steve, let's invite them to the table. Let's go. Hey,
show them how it feels to be accepted.
Yeah, come to the table, my friends. Let's have a chat, and I'll make you some dinner, and we'll play games, but you don't need to be mad. We got your back.
I agree. And I think a good way to wrap this episode up on doubt is...
Now that we've spiraled into
I can connect this. I watch this.
Yeah, let's go.
We doubt. We doubt because we don't feel, we don't see, we don't do the things that tie us close to the presence of God every day. But if you wake up and you set the intention, no matter what your belief system is, to spread love, there's no way that each day you won't feel the presence of God.
Yeah.
And it will help with those doubts. And it's okay to doubt. And it's okay to pray if you're unsure if anyone's even listening, and talk about your doubt. Because odds are it's going to help it.
Absolutely.
Like Mother Teresa, just do it.
Just do it. Do it anyway.
Just keep doing it. Do it anyway. Love them anyway. Be you anyway. And I think that connection will follow.
Yeah, I agree.
And if you do have doubts, talk to us.
Come on now.
We are a shame-free area. We want to hear it. Like the people I talked to, it was so fun to sit and talk with people just about what they truly believed in without having a stigma on it, without being like, well, okay, but have you ever thought about this? I just listened.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
I get what you're coming from.
There's very few things that I feel like we wouldn't understand because we kind of been there, done that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. We love you guys.
We love you.
It means the world that you tune in, and we hope that this hit home.
Love you all. See you later.
See ya.